In 1908, Lewis Hine photographed miners entering a coal mine at Gary, West Virginia, at 7 in the morning. Many would not see daylight again until 5:30 that evening. Below ground, the danger was not limited to cave-ins. Men worked beside open flames, cars loaded with tons of coal, black powder, steel bars, chains, and cutting tools sharp enough to open the mountain itself. Some fit inside a pocket or tool bag. Others waited along the track, beneath the roof, or beyond the reach of the miner's lamp. The company called them equipment. Underground, some could become weapons. Others were dangerous enough without ever being raised by a man. By August 1921, thousands of pro-Union miners were marching across southern West Virginia, many carrying rifles toward Blair Mountain. Number 14 was only a block of wood, yet it could decide whether a loaded mine car stopped. Number 7 fit between two fingers, but the explosive chain began inside it. Number 3 followed miners out of the portal and onto an armed ridge, and Number 1 was not something a miner carried. It was the darkness that made every other object more dangerous. Before we begin, subscribe. These are 25 forgotten weapons Appalachian coal miners carried into the dark. Number 25, the brass pit check. The smallest object in a West Virginia mine could decide whether a miner's labor was paid at all. A loader dropped his numbered brass check into every coal car he filled. At the tipple, workers removed the tag, weighed the load, and credited the coal to the man whose number appeared on it. At Helen, miners were commonly paid by production. A car judged too heavy with slate could be docked or rejected, separating several tons of coal from the worker who loaded it. The pit check never broke rock, stopped a runaway car, or held up a roof. Its power was quieter. It controlled ownership inside a system where one disputed load could reduce a family's pay. Picture a miner climbing out after 10 hours underground, only to learn that part of the shift had vanished from the ledger. The brass weighed almost nothing. The day behind it did not. Number 24. The Trapper Door. In 1908, Lewis Hine photographed a 15-year-old boy named Vance beside a ventilation door in a West Virginia coal mine. He earned 75 cents for a 10-hour shift, opening and closing the barrier whenever mine cars passed. Most of the day, he waited alone in darkness. Yet the job affected men working far beyond him. Trapper doors directed fresh air through selected entries while pushing smoke, dust, and foul air toward return passages. One door left open at the wrong time could weaken that circulation. A boy seated beside a wooden barrier could change what grown miners breathed several turns deeper into the mountain. There was only a door, approaching wheels, and the need to move it at exactly the right moment. He controlled no locomotive and carried no weapon. The boy moved the door moved the mine. Number 23. The roof prop. Before a miner could produce coal, he often performed what workers called dead work, extending track, clearing rock, and setting timber that earned no direct production pay. A roof prop was usually a rough post cut to fit between the mine floor and the rock above. Dust darkened the wood, while pressure slowly forced its fibers to bend, split, or sink. Experienced miners listened. A creak could signal settling weight. Fresh splinters might mean the roof was loading faster than the timber could carry it. The prop looked passive because it did not move until something was already wrong. Once it kicked out or snapped, the danger was no longer the post. It was the mass of stone waiting above every helmet. A man could swing a loose prop in an emergency, but its real threat was structural. It warned him that thousands of pounds were already pressing downward. The timber protected the room by standing still. Its failure could bring the mountain down all at once. Number 22. The number 2 and number 4 shovel. For decades, hand loaders at Helen, West Virginia, worked with number 2 and number 4 shovels. After the pick, auger, powder, and fuse brought coal down, the shovel moved it into a car one load at a time. A miner might handle several tons during a shift. The steel blade scraped coal, struck slate, and wore thin along its edge. Its long handle gave leverage while allowing the worker to reach across broken material without stepping beneath unstable roof. No foreman could question why it was there. Coated in dust and polished by use, it belonged at the coal face. In a confined entry, The blade could block a passage, strike with the force of both arms, or hold another man beyond grabbing distance. Above ground, it was farm and construction equipment. Below ground, it was as common as coal dust. A tool did not have to be hidden when every miner was expected to carry one. Number 21. The oil wick cap lamp. Introduced in the 19th century and used into the early 20th, the oil wick cap lamp replaced loose candles with a flame fixed directly to the miner's head. A small metal font held oil or animal fat. A wick burned from its spout, throwing a weak yellow circle across rails, roof cracks, and the coal face. The light smoked, left soot on the cap, and revealed only what stood immediately ahead. That weakness was part of its danger. A miner beyond the lamp's short reach could miss a broken rail, a sagging prop, or a car waiting around a bend. Methane and suspended coal dust could remain invisible until the flame reached them. Miners sometimes watched how drafts bent the wick, but the lamp offered no guarantee that the air ahead was safe. Every shift began with a fragile flame strapped to cloth or leather because total darkness made work impossible. It did not conquer the dark, it only opened a small hole through it. The first 5 objects controlled pay, airflow, roof, labor, and visibility. None had been purchased as a weapon. A foreman could question a pistol in a tool bag. He could not question a shovel beside the face, a lamp on a cap, or timber beneath the roof. From here, the danger begins to move. Mules pull loaded cars through blind turns. Rail steel follows the workings deeper into the mountain. Maps decide which passage still leads out. And small pieces of coupling hardware hold forces no man could stop with his hands. Number 20. The Mule Whip. Lewis Hine photographed young mule drivers in West Virginia mines in 1908, including boys who spent more than 10 hours underground. Their animals pulled loaded cars through entries where a lamp revealed only short sections of rail. A frightened mule could freeze, back into equipment, or refuse a turn while several tons of coal waited behind it. The whip was not simply an instrument of punishment. Its crack carried around bends, warned workers ahead, and demanded movement when shouting was swallowed by distance and machinery. Sound arrived first. Then came the mule, the driver, and the loaded trip behind them. A lash also reached across a passage without requiring the full swing of a club or bar. It could turn an animal, clear a track, or force someone to step back before wheels appeared out of darkness. Men often obeyed the crack before they knew what was coming behind it. Number 19. The rail spike. As underground workings advanced, track advanced with them. Rails, timber ties, repair tools, and loose spikes appeared wherever crews extended or rebuilt the haulage line. Track crews left forged spikes near the road beneath a miner's boots. A man did not need to bring one from outside. The mine placed the steel beside him. A spike was short, dense, easy to grip, and completely ordinary around rail work. It could be repair material, discarded scrap, or the nearest solid object when a dispute left no time to reach a tool rack. Its narrow end concentrated force into only a few inches. In an entry crowded by cars, rails, and men, it required little room to use. The object looked explainable because it was. Every new section of track carried its own loose pieces of iron deeper into the mountain. Number 18. The Pocket Mine Map. Kaymore's master map stretched roughly 30 feet across canvas. Survey crews added entries, standing water, gas pockets, roof falls, and changing working sections. No foreman could carry that underground. Instead, smaller pocket maps showed individual areas and received handwritten corrections during the shift. Even those maps could fall behind reality. A route open in the morning might be flooded, curtained, blocked by fallen roof, or filled with smoke before night. In lamp failure, paper became survival equipment. One line could direct a man toward the portal. Another could carry him deeper into a section where no one expected to find him. The official drawing recorded the mine as surveyed. The experienced miner remembered slopes, air currents, machinery, and recent changes. An outsider followed ink. A miner combined the map with sound, memory, and the feel of the floor beneath his boots. Number 17. The mine car coupling pin. Coal cars moving through Kaymore's portals had to be joined, separated, and redirected behind mules or locomotives. Older pin and link systems placed workers close to car ends, steel wheels, and moving weight. The coupling pin was compact, heavy, and built to remain seated while the load pulled against it. A rolling car could erase the space between two bumpers before a worker cleared his hands. Later safety rules favored automatic couplers partly to remove that exposure. Removed from the coupling, the pin sat heavily in one hand. It needed almost no swinging room and was designed to resist repeated force rather than bend. In one hand, it carried the same stubborn weight that held moving cars together. The danger was not a legend attached to the object. It was the strength built into a piece of steel, meant to keep tons from separating. Number 16. The haulage cable. At Kmore, coal descended roughly 1,000 feet on a steep incline toward the processing plant below. Two 8-ton monitor cars were connected to a large drum by wire rope cable. As the loaded car moved downhill, it helped pull the empty car upward. An operator controlled the descent with brakes while trip after trip crossed the slope. The cable stored the force of moving weight and gravity. If the line broke, jumped, or allowed a car to run uncontrolled, workers on the incline had almost nowhere to move. The danger was not in a loose cable lying on the ground. It was in the tension running through every strand. Miners could hear the system working before the car came into view. Every vibration carried the weight of the gorge downhill. Number 15. The copper needle. At Helen, a loader drilled a borehole, placed black powder inside, and inserted a long, thin copper rod called a needle. Clay was packed around the rod. When the miner withdrew it, the needle left a narrow channel leading back toward the charge. The safety fuse entered through that path. Copper mattered because it was less likely than iron to throw a spark near explosive material. Its importance came from what remained after it was removed. The empty channel determined whether fire could travel cleanly into the shot. A poor path could waste the charge or change how the blast broke the face. A clean path gave the flame a direct route toward several pounds of powder. The needle looked too slender to matter, yet the explosion depended on the space it left behind. Number 14. The wooden sprag. Before mine cars had reliable brakes, spraggers carried short blocks of wood and jammed them through the wheel spokes. Oral histories describe sprags around 18 inches long and only a few inches thick. The job required timing rather than strength. A worker had to meet the turning wheel, place the block, and lock the car before its momentum carried it farther down the track. Miss the spokes, move too slowly, or lose footing beside the rail, and the loaded car kept coming. The sprag looked like scrap timber in a mine already filled with roof posts, wedges, and broken wood. Yet one block held in a single hand could challenge a car carrying a ton or more of coal. The heaviest moving object in the entry could depend on the cheapest object beside it. The car carried the weight. Number 14. Decided whether it stopped. Number 13. The miner's axe. Timber supports rarely arrived underground, ready to fit. Posts had to be shortened, caps shaped, and wedges driven tight against an uneven roof. The miner's axe combined a heavy head with a shorter handle than an ordinary felling axe. American examples often placed a 3 to 5 pound head on a handle roughly 19 to 26 inches long, giving the worker cutting force without demanding a full overhead swing. One edge dressed the timber. The pole could drive caps, wedges, or track wood into place. Its purpose separated it from the coal pick. The pick opened the seam. The axe shaped the structure meant to keep that seam from burying the crew. Inside an entry crowded with props, the short handle also made the tool fast and difficult to avoid. A miner could carry it through spaces where a full-sized woodsman's axe would catch on the roof. The same blade that fitted a safety post could become the sharpest object beside it. Number 12. The safety fuse. After the charge was packed, the miner inserted safety fuse through the channel left by the copper needle. He shouted "Fire in the hole" 3 times, lit the end, and retreated toward the nearest crosscut. From that moment, the fuse became a clock he could not pause. Its length offered time. An uneven or unexpectedly fast burn took that time away. The miner had to trust the cord, the distance, and every person expected to hear the warning. Smoke and darkness made the retreat feel longer. A crosscut that seemed close during preparation could feel one bend too far away once the flame began moving toward the powder. The fuse created no destructive force of its own. Once it began to burn, the mine started counting for him. Number 11. The tamping bar. The tamping bar helped pack clay or other material around a prepared charge so the explosion drove into the coal instead of blowing back toward the room. That made it a tool of pressure and direction. The miner reached deep into the borehole while working only a short distance from powder, fuse channels, and hard rock. Every movement mattered. Damage the channel, disturb the charge, or strike carelessly, and a controlled shot could become something less predictable. The bar's length provided reach, but also created leverage. In a confrontation, it could control a larger distance than a short hammer or coupling pin. Its real historical danger remained inside the hole. Unlike the pick, it did not break the seam through visible impact. It shaped the force that would do the breaking later. Before the mountain opened, the tamping bar determined where the pressure would go. The last 5 objects no longer belonged to one repeated blasting sequence. The needle opened a route for fire. The sprag stopped a moving car. The miner's axe-shaped roof timber. The fuse measured escape. The tamping bar directed pressure. That difference matters. Coal miners did not select one kind of danger. They worked among cutting edges, moving loads, unstable roof, open flame, and explosives at the same time. The next group brings those risks closer to the body. A chest-braced drill, a wooden explosive box, a brighter lamp, a copper detonator, and the most recognizable hand tool in the mine. Number 10. The breast auger. A hand loader did not stand safely behind this drill. He braced the breast auger against his body and turned its steel bit into the coal face. Before drilling, he might spend hours lying partly beneath the seam, cutting an undercut several feet deep. The auger then opened the borehole that would receive the explosive charge. Every turn sent resistance back through the handles, shoulders, and chest. A jammed bit, slipping brace, or poor angle could force the miner against the same wall he was trying to break. A badly placed hole wasted powder and changed how the coal came down. A broken or bound drill could trap hands and clothing before a man found room to pull away. The tool relied on human pressure rather than an electric motor. The miner's body supplied the brace. He did not merely push the drill into the mountain, he used himself as part of the machine. Number 9. The wooden powder box. A 1919 Bureau of Mines safety publication showed a miner receiving one day's supply of explosives and carrying it underground inside a wooden powder box. Another illustration placed the box in a recess cut into the rib, away from ordinary traffic and separate from detonators. Its shape was familiar, a plain chest with a lid, surrounded by timber, coal, and tools. Nothing outside displayed the force inside. Wood reduced certain sparking risks, but heat, flame, impact, or flying material could still reach the contents. A box left in the wrong passage could place a working supply of powder beside wheels, tools, and open lamps. The container made explosives easier to carry, organize, and keep dry. The box looked ordinary because the dangerous part was never the wood. Number 8. The carbide cap lamp. Around the early 20th century, carbide lamps began replacing smoky oil wick lights on miners' caps. Water dripped onto calcium carbide, producing acetylene gas that burned as a clean white flame. Many models produced roughly 4 to 6 candle power, giving miners a stronger, steadier beam across rails, roof, and machinery. That improvement changed how men worked. A miner could inspect more of the roof before stepping forward, recognize switches sooner, and see tools beyond the small yellow circle of an oil lamp. The carbide lamp therefore belongs here for a different reason than number 21. The older lamp represented weak light and smoke. This one represented technological progress that still left a flame exposed above the miner's eyes. It pushed the shadows farther away and made the underground world more visible. But better light did not make the mountain predictable. Number 7. The blasting cap. A blasting cap was small enough to disappear inside a closed hand, yet it supplied the initiating shock required by dynamite and other high explosives. That separated it from the safety fuse used with older black powder shots. The fuse carried flame. The cap transformed that flame into a detonation powerful enough to start the main charge. Caps had to remain separated from bulk explosives and protected from impact and heat. A miner might carry a larger box of explosive material while treating the tiny detonator with greater caution. Lose one, and work stopped. Damage one, and the danger became unpredictable. The cap cut no coal and supported no roof. Its entire purpose was to begin the blast inside the borehole. Number 7, fit between 2 fingers. The largest explosion in the room waited for the shock inside that small copper tube. Number 6. The coal pick. For generations of hand miners, work at the face began with the coal pick. The loader lay partly beneath the seam and cut an undercut several feet deep, sometimes spending hours on his side before drilling started. Each blow drove a narrow steel point into coal, shale, or hidden stone. At Helen, miners bought their own tools and paid the company blacksmith to sharpen and temper them. A dull pick wasted strength. Brittle steel could break at the worst moment. The tool required less room than a shovel and concentrated the force of both arms into a point smaller than a coin. Coal dust, worn wood, and sharpening marks made its purpose obvious. It was the object most outsiders associated with mining because its shape explained the labor immediately. Yet, among all the equipment underground, this was the tool no man wanted raised toward him. From here, the list crosses the mine portal. The objects behind us earned their place through work, cutting coal, controlling motion, preparing shots, and holding danger at a distance. The final 5 confront unstable roof, company violence, organized labor conflict, and industrial explosive force. And number 1 gives every tool, firearm, warning, and mistake its real power. The closer we move toward the end, the less this story is about isolated objects. It becomes a story about fear, control, and men who understood the mountain better than those sent against them. Number 5. The slate bar. Mining terminology describes the slate bar as a long-handled tool used to pry dangerous material from the roof, face, and ribs. A miner first sounded the rock, listening for hollow sections, then raised the bar to bring loose slate down before gravity selected the moment. Its length created distance, but also powerful leverage inside a narrow entry. If shifting rock caught the steel, the bar could kick backward violently. One sweep could control nearly the width of a passage. Picture a miner beneath a low roof, lamp tilted upward, dust sliding past his shoulders as cracks spread above him. He is not attacking solid coal. He is forcing unstable stone to reveal itself before it falls without warning. The slate bar protected miners by provoking danger first. That was exactly what made it so unsettling. Number 4. The coalfield revolver. The revolver rarely belonged at the coal face. Its world was the company street, the eviction line, and the strike camp. A National Park Service photograph shows Matewan Police Chief Sid Hatfield holding one around 1,920. On May 19 that year, Baldwin Felt's agents entered Matewan, Mingo County, after evicting union miners and their families from company housing. Hatfield and Mayor Cable Testerman challenged their authority. Gunfire followed in the street. When it ended, Testerman, 7 agents, and 2 townspeople were dead. By July, more than 90% of Mingo County miners had taken the union oath. The sidearm marked the moment coalfield violence moved into coat pockets, storefronts, and public streets. It could remain concealed where a rifle could not and appear before a confrontation had room to cool. A pick could break the seam. At Matewan, revolvers helped break the belief that company power would always go unanswered. Number 3. The striker's rifle. By late August 1921, thousands of armed miners had gathered at Marmot and moved through southern West Virginia toward Mingo County. Their route crossed Logan County, where Sheriff Don Chafin's civilian force occupied the Blair Mountain ridgeline. On the night of August 30, minister and part-time miner John Wilburn led about 70 men, including 2 of his sons, uphill from Blair. At dawn, the group met Chafin's deputies. Gunfire opened a battle that continued for 3 days with rifles, machine guns, and other firearms. One rifle protected one marcher. Hundreds distributed across wooded slopes could deny an entire route. The miners understood ravines, brush, and coal country roads. Chafin's men held prepared positions above them. Federal troops finally ended the confrontation. Many miners surrendered their rifles rather than fire on the United States Army. Fighting ended officially on September 4. Numbers changed the rifle's meaning. This was organized force carried onto a mountain by men who believed the mine war had already followed them home. Number 2. The black powder can. At Kmore, miners drilled the coal face and inserted charges made from mining powder, a mixture of sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate. The can entered the mine as legitimate production equipment carried by the same men expected to survive what it released. That legitimacy separated it from every firearm near the top of this list. Black blasting powder produced a large, long-lasting flame, poisonous smoke, and noxious gases. Where methane or suspended coal dust waited unseen, one poor shot could turn a working room into an ignition chamber. Even a successful blast could leave smoke between the miner and the nearest crosscut. The company needed powder because hand tools alone could not release coal quickly enough. The worker accepted the danger because production depended on it. The most destructive object underground did not have to be hidden, smuggled, or explained. It was issued for the shift, charged to the work, and carried openly into the dark. Number 1. The mine tunnel itself. A room and pillar mine was cut like a dark grid. Main entries carried traffic. Side entries led toward working rooms. Crosscuts connected passages. Ventilation doors redirected air. Pillars of unmined coal held up the roof while track advanced behind the face. Water, smoke, broken timber, and roof falls could change a route between shifts. Number 1 was not a tool. It was the environment that gave every other object its force. An outsider saw black passages. An experienced miner noticed the grade beneath his boots, air pulling against his lamp, a loaded car beyond a bend, and the difference between solid roof and hollow rock. Lose the light, and distance stopped behaving normally. Take the wrong crosscut, and every step could lead farther from the portal. A map recorded the mine as surveyed. Memory recorded what had changed since morning. The tunnel isolated men from witnesses, medical help, and daylight while multiplying sound and concealing movement. Miners carried picks, powder, lamps, bars, axes, and rifles. But none was more powerful than knowing where the darkness ended. The tools belonged to the miner. The darkness belonged to the mountain. These 25 objects were never equal, and many were never designed as weapons. Some measured pay. Others controlled air, movement, light, roof, or explosive timing. A few followed miners beyond the portal into company streets and Blair Mountain. What connected them was the world in which they were used. Low roofs, distant help, company authority, and shifts long enough to make daylight feel temporary. Appalachian coal miners did not enter that world as legendary gunfighters. They entered as workers carrying required equipment. Underground, ordinary equipment gained consequences no catalog could fully describe. If this history deserves to be remembered, subscribe and tell us which object surprised you most. The mine is silent now, but its tools still explain what survival demanded.